Why do they all look like this? Like they legitimately love pain and suffering? I think it's because many of them actually do. It's why we've seen so many of them actively call for war or murder against people that disagree with them.
Where is Luigi? I have a list for him.
It's why they love staying victims and why they actually hate having legitimate conversations that could lead to a middle ground or an understanding.
Hello, my name is Scarlett Kelly and I am officially declaring war on the Republican Party. If you are a Republican on TikTok and you want to interact with me, you deserve to die. You deserve to be shot. You deserve whatever suffering could possibly come to you.
And why they see everything in black and white. Zero nuance to their thinking. From the horrible makeup to the toxic colored, non-natural looking hair to septum piercings, these all have cultural and mental significance. And many of them lead to masochism. Welcome to another psychological deep dive. If you guys have been watching me for a while, you know that I'm a lesbian that left the left around 7 years ago, right around the time when I moved to Florida, interestingly enough, which kind of makes sense. Since then, I've been doing a ton of research on habits, mental illnesses, and cultural significance when it comes to far left people. One trend I've noticed quite often is masochism. And masochism doesn't just mean sexual masochism, which I'm sure you guys know means pain-induced pleasure. Masochism can also certainly be completely non-sexual, in which there are 3 different types: emotional masochism, self-sabotage, and self-discipline. And in all 3 of these cases, it refers to an individual's tendency to seek out pain, suffering, or humiliation. Number 1, emotional masochism. We see this all the time on TikTok. People constantly searching for painful situations. Purposefully going out and knowing that they're gonna be misgendered just so they can go back on their phone and TikTok and vent about it, complain about it, all while smiling in the camera, making money off of it.
I have been misgendered 3 times in the past 24 hours at restaurants. Last night, I was at Benihana with my girlfriend and the server said, "What about you, sir? What would you like to eat?"
Or even worse, completely not knowing your gender at all, so no matter what the situation is, you can play victim. No matter how somebody sees you, somehow they're going to be wrong.
We're here and we're genderqueer.
Emotional masochism can also mean staying in abusive relationships or even staying in organizations or political affiliations that constantly bring emotional distress to them. Think about all the activists that constantly glue their hands to the sidewalk in protest of whatever you're supposed to be angry at that week. Or literally praising terrorist organizations that would unalive you for being gay or trans.
Long live Hamas, long live, their really complex organizational skills that, even Israeli hostages have talked about their admiration and respect for.
Or constantly searching for a struggle to fight for and saying that you don't want to be there, even though we know you do, you live for it. Don't lie to us. You love it.
And frankly, I don't want to be here. I want to be in my lab focusing on my research. But I can't. I want to be building community with queer scientists that I have been proud to lead, but I can't.
It literally brings them satisfaction from enduring this type of pain. Emotional masochism can also be very similar to someone that stays in an abusive relationship that is just an absolute emotional roller coaster, right? Ups and downs. You refuse to get off the ride, even though you're nauseous and have puked all over yourself.
Raise your hand if you wake up every day with a belly full of rage because of a bunch of 18 and 19-year-old red-pilled edgelords voted for Donald Trump.
It can't be just me that thinks this person and these people are enjoying this suffering, right? Because you can simply just not allow other people to affect your self-growth. Another big part of emotional masochism is self-sabotage. That brings us to number 2. A lot of these types of people engage in behaviors that leads to their own suffering. I don't know if it's consciously or subconsciously, but they still do it.
I don't give a fuck what he wears. This man has been respectful to every leader in the world.
Crying over the fact that Zelensky was made fun of by President Trump and JD Vance and a few other people over the fact that he wasn't wearing a suit is just ridiculous.
I live in Florida and I'm gay, non-binary, and I had a call today with my psychiatrist and I've been seeing him since 2009, and we went over my medications and he asked me how I've been feeling lately, and I told him I've just been so sad and scared.
It's time to get a new psych, babe, because this one ain't working out for you. The medications aren't medicating. I'm also gay. I also live in Florida. And I'm feeling, besides like sweating to death right now, I'm feeling quite fantastic here. The truth is, once you start realizing that a majority of these fears that have been put into your head is from woke propaganda. And I want to say to this person that maybe once they realize this, they'll start to feel better. But the truth is, this is a video about emotional masochism. So I think either way, they'll find a way to play the victim still and still be upset about like anything. When you've been around the internet and these types of people for quite some time, you start to realize that the majority of these types make it their entire personality, fighting for the oppressed, even if they're not actually oppressed, right? All while actively wishing upon the opposite side.
I know that you're probably not going to listen to this, or you're not going to understand it because you're going to be too distracted by my nose ring. As much as I can't stand you guys, to see the worst things done to you would fill me with joy.
And yes, we have noticed that the septum piercing is a complete staple piece of people on the far left, progressivism, socialism, communism, and there's also a little bit of historical context here that we can dive into real quick. The septum piercing first made its debut, at least in the United States, around the 1980s in the punk and like some kind of rock subculture movements. It was seen as a rebellion piece back then, and it is seen as a rebellion piece now, even though it's not actually a rebellion because these people are just going with everything the government says to do. So I don't know. Emotional masochism in a political context usually manifests itself in a narrative of perpetual grievance, self-harm, guilt. We see people with white cis guilt all the time.
That you can go into any business and specifically request people who are allies. I just did it. I'm at a Mexican restaurant and I said, hey, I would like to specifically request to be set with somebody who is LGBTQ or trans positive because that's how I'm spending my money today.
Or relishing in conflicts that reinforce their identities, which, as we know, is a perpetual victim. This piece from drherd.com in 2021 speculates that certain leftist behaviors, such as obedience to authorities, despite personal cost, or thriving on argumentative pain, could reflect masochistic tendencies. Okay, so now all the trust the government, trust the science, listen to Big Pharma, all of that makes sense. Makes complete sense now. It's why they loved wearing masks. Because Big Daddy Government told them to sit down and shut the fuck up and don't leave your houses and do what I say, and they loved every second of it. It's why they have huge issues with anybody who doesn't obey the person or the government in power, even though they somehow managed to call us the fascists? Listen to this quote from the article. When you use logic, reasons, facts, or common sense with a leftist, not just with masks or vaccines, but especially with these two particular things, right now, then you interfere with their masochism. When you interfere with their masochism, they become like heroin addicts whose drug is taken away from them. All hell breaks loose psychologically and behaviorally. They go for the kill. Their masochism converts into sadistic attitudes and behaviors. Leftists who claim to champion the downtrodden become the victimizers, at least verbally. They impose their will by any means necessary, shaming, intimidating, and of course, invoking and empowering their religious idol, the unlimited government. Number 3, self-discipline. This is kind of emotional masochism light, beta, if you will, unintended, of course. Some people may push themselves to endure hardships, physical discomfort, stress, all in the name of personal growth, achievement, or discipline. I also think it's why you constantly see people on TikTok and such saying that we have to sit down and shut up and listen to black women. I also don't think they're in as much pain as they pretend to be, because they're always with the crazy eyes, but somehow also always smiling. But it's like not for real smiling. I've talked about that in a previous video. It's called Duper's Delight. Look it up.
I'm gonna say this one time, and I will not be adding any further details. Where is Luigi? I have a list for him.
And again, I think this all comes down to them enjoying being disciplined, being in pain, feeling uncomfortable, in a constant state of victimhood. So much so that they actually bring it upon themselves. Watch this TikTok that I found that explains it all perfectly.
Masochistic people are not that uncommon either. People who get in their own way. And that tends to be a depressive psychology with the additional problem of, I just don't take it out on myself. I need to keep demonstrating that I'm suffering, either to show that I'm a good person or to maintain a relationship. I mean, there are some people who are so severely masochistic that they stay in abusive relationships because for them, It's worse to be alone.
Do you guys remember the video I posted a few years back talking about, specifically about cults and how they get people to join said cults? I really do believe that the majority of these types of people are just afraid to be alone. They don't understand the world. They want an easy way out. They want to be told what to believe, how to feel, how to live, how to think, how to act.
If I'm suffering, you'll pay attention to me. They often have histories where their parents neglected them except when they were injured or sick.
It means that the individual's personality is centered around being right or feeling worthy when they feel bad or feel like they're doing poorly in life. Another term for this personality style or personality disorder is called self-defeating. Listen to this TikTok and tell me it doesn't explain perfectly what we're talking about.
If a person is emotionally masochistic, they may be drawn to situations or relationships in which they'll likely suffer. They tend to be particularly irritated by cheerful people. They're seemingly incapable of mirroring others' positive emotional states. They shun fun. They fixate on negativities from the past, present, or imagined future. They stick to their stories about how disappointing and unsatisfying life is. And they tend to prevent others from helping them or even reject people who treat them well. There is almost an exhilaration when something goes awry in their life.
These people basically self-sabotage and feel the most comfortable when they either knock others down a peg or prevent their success. Masochistic personality individuals often sabotage their appearance to elicit reactions from others. Victimhood is very, very, very attractive to these types of people. And they often enjoy making others feel guilty about their own victimizations. But some people, at least some people, are waking up from this all.
I think another one of the reasons that I left the left was because I was tired of being a victim. I was tired of everyone telling me that because I was a woman and because I was bisexual that I was somehow being oppressed by literally everyone and everything all the time. I was also really tired of self-hate and of hating myself because I was born white.
Let's hope this trend continues because I really do want society to start healing. I want people to be better, actually have their soul grow and to learn the lessons that they're here to learn. But if not, we are going to see a ton of more of these psychological deep dives. So I guess the silver lining might be job security on my end. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe if you are new, and I will see you guys back here on Sunday with a brand new video. Until then, I love you, love yourselves. Keep calling out the bullshit.